Hello? Hello? Is this on? Hello? Holy shit. Oh my god. Testing. Testing. Is it on? Hello? Is anyone there? Is anyone? Max, I'm talking to the TV again. I think. Hello? Testing. Got a show, everybody. Welcome to another episodic installation of the Showgram. Featuring Max the dog's butt and tail. Currently visible. Not for long though, because he's on his own journey. But welcome to the show this morning. I've got a little bit of an allergy attack going on, so like just bear the fuck with me if you would not mind just bearing the fuck with me. Oh Jesus. Woo. A little bit of an allergy thing going on. I was mowing the grass yesterday, so all that shit's in the air, you know what I mean? Does anyone know? Does anyone ever do that? You know, when the shit's in the air and it's like, you know, is anyone? So I'm doing a show today. I guess. I don't even know what this is. Is this a show, I guess? I put news articles on the screen and then I rant and rave about shit that no one cares about. So I'm going to get ready to do that again. All right. Like I said before, the only reason someone would ever become a police officer is if they want to be a serial killer without having to deal with going to jail. You know, I always say this, the most prolific serial killers in the United States are police officers. Why? Because it's written into the legal code they can kill as many people as they want. And when it comes to cops, they often don't have a problem killing each other. You know, it's a very competitive industry, if you will. You know, who's the most prolific serial killer? I don't know. I'm going to kill you so that I can leapfrog you on the leaderboard. Well, cops killing other cops sometimes gets a little out of control, even for me. And sometimes I see a headline like this and I just want to jump out a window, but thankfully I live on the first story. So, I mean, it wouldn't really, you know, I wouldn't be hurt at all. But anyway, second canine officer in 1 week dies in a hot car after the safety system and air conditioning fail. Now, I just want to real quick, like, what is a canine officer? That is a dog. Now, you may, you know, I have a dog. Maxie, come here. I'm talking about you. I have a dog. His name is Max the dog. Now, could you imagine leaving this precious creature inside of a fucking hot car? Max, get on camera. I'm trying to... Can you imagine leaving this guy in a fucking car? Anyway, Max is not cooperating. But could you imagine... Now, second of all, I know a lot of people in this country, they're fucked up, okay? What is this autoplay? they're fucked up, right? People having pets for the whole purpose of abusing them is very common in this country. I mean, look at why people have kids. Having kids is a way to legally have a slave in your household that you can pretty much torment, beat the shit out of, psychologically, physically, emotionally abuse to your heart's content, and the government doesn't give a shit, right? And the same applies for cops with canines, so-called canines. They're never necessary. They don't really change anything for the better. All they do is just, it's just kind of torturing them, like really. And just another thing, if you were, and I'm not saying you would because you're not a cop, but if you were to kill a canine, let's say a canine is biting your leg off and you have a gun and you shoot the canine to stop the pain, you would be charged with killing a police officer. They treat canines in the same way that they treat police. Unless a human cop kills a dog cop, then all of a sudden dogs aren't cops anymore. Dogs are cops when you try to remove a canine from biting your leg. People have been charged with assaulting a police officer because a canine was biting their leg or arm and they touched the dog and tried to pull them away, push them away. They have been charged with assaulting a police officer for touching a dog that is actively harming them. And yet, as the headline says, second canine officer dead in 1 week. So it seems to me that there is a systematic killing of cops in Texas. Now, oftentimes I come on my show and I tell you, officer down, look how great that is. Except I, because I'm a rational person, understand that cops cannot be dogs. Why? Because they're dogs. And dogs aren't cops. Now, I say that because they're good things. I think dogs shouldn't be allowed to become cops. I think that that is torture, that is animal abuse. Now, of course, that's normalized in society. But, I mean, come the fuck on now. Like, I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, if I touch a canine, I'm assaulting a police officer. You're killing 2 canines. No big deal. I mean, this shit just fucking pisses me off. It really does. A Texas police dog died Monday after being left alone in a hot car just a week after a Georgia canine succumbed to the same fate. Aaron, a 4-year-old canine with nearly 2 years on the job, died from heat exhaustion in Houston after the cruiser's engine spontaneously failed. Wow, it spontaneously failed. Aaron's handler, who had left the pup in a running and air-conditioned vehicle, returned to find Aaron in distress and was him to an emergency veterinarian, but was too late. I have a question. Unidentified handler, reportedly struggling. Are they struggling in a jail cell? They killed a cop. Now, again, under most circumstances, a cop being killed to me is a cause for celebration. But, I'm just curious. So cops can kill other cops and get away with it? Like, I'm glad he's struggling with his actions of being a murderer. That makes me happy. But I would prefer that he struggle in a jail cell. Like, if you were attacked by a cop dog and you tried to push the dog away from you, you would be in a jail cell for assaulting a police officer. So I'm just curious. I'm curious as to what the law is. Because if the law says that canines are equivalent to cops, what does this mean? Can cops kill other cops? Human cops and get away with it? I'm just curious. I don't know. But anyway, this is one of the largest animal abuse rackets in the United States. Some other rackets include dog breeding competitions, people that breed dogs for competitive purposes. That's an animal abuse racket. There's other sorts of animal abuse that takes place that's rampant in the United States, but police as an institution, as a gang, are one of the largest contributors to animal abuse. And again, I mean, this shit is just fucking, it's disgusting. It really is. The way that they, the whole thing, the whole cop dog thing, it really fucking, it fucks with my brain, It really does. It really does. It's disgusting. But anyway, if you don't have any more reasons why you want to hate cops or whatever, here's one. They kill dogs. There you go. So, I'm still on my first cup of coffee, so bear with me. Doing a show today. This is the Above It All program. Today, everybody, I don't even know where to start with this fucking shit. Alright, let's do the drug one. Hello, Natalie Marie. Raise his hand emoji. First time catching the show live. Oh my god. Oh my god. Max, people are watching. Oh, you can't see him. People are watching, Max. They're watching you. You're on TV. You can see the fucking plethora of toys all over the place. I got Max some new toys, not too long ago, like about maybe a week ago. All over the place. I mean, this guy, no respect for my floor. Oh, here he is. Here he is. He's right here. All right. Let's talk about drugs, everybody. So real quick, I have a question. Has anyone ever been to school and learned about the Prohibition era of American politics, where alcohol was made federally illegal for about a decade? What happened during that period of time? Well, it gave birth to the mafia. The Italian mafia that had no power in the United States, but Prohibition happened. They used their organized crime, tactics and abilities to basically, over the course of a decade, go from almost non-existent to the largest criminal syndicate in the country. They maintained that power at least all the way up until the 1980s. The mafia is not as strong as they used to be, but that all happened throughout the Prohibition era. The point is, what happened? Gangsters took charge of the market. What else happened? Well, we also knew that alcohol production, you could import alcoholic beverages from Canada, which a lot of mafioso individuals did, but you could also make it in your bathtub, unregulated, which resulted in many people dying of so-called bad batches. You also saw the proliferation of other drug addictions, non-alcoholic drug addictions, people going to things that they could more easily find other than alcohol, which again was a lot easier in the early 20th century, right? So it's a lot easier to find other kinds of drugs than it was now, before the Controlled Substances Act, all that. This is all to say that the war on drugs doesn't work. It's a flop. It's a failure. It's a big fat L. And so with that history, let's jump into this. San Francisco, apparently, is the fentanyl capital of the world. California authorities seize enough fentanyl in San Francisco to kill the entire city's population and nearly 3 times over. Like, what the fuck kind of headline is this, man? Like, does anyone know? Like, what the fuck kind of headline is this? There's enough fentanyl to kill the city's entire population nearly 3 times over? Like, when have you ever seen a headline like that. Like in any other context. Like, I don't know, there's enough guns in San Francisco to kill the population 20 times over. There's enough poison in the food supply to kill the like, I'm just like, it's a weird thing. It's a really strange headline, but let's keep going here. Now, again, actually, before I start, what is fentanyl? Fentanyl is a drug that only exists in a black market. The only reason fentanyl exists in the United States is so illegal, unregulated, and you could also say dysregulated drug manufacturers in the United States can easily source fentanyl, which means it's easier to come across fentanyl than other more desirable drugs like heroin. It's easier to get fentanyl into the country than heroin, and yet no one wants fentanyl, but a lot of people want heroin. Isn't that strange? So what happens is they often use fentanyl as a way to dilute their other drugs. You see oftentimes meth, crystal meth, is cut with fentanyl. You see cocaine is cut with fentanyl. If you are buying drugs off of the secondary market in this country and you do not have a complete map of the sourcing of these drugs, you are probably being fed fentanyl. And again, nobody is going... Now, again, I'm willing to say there are probably some people out there that genuinely like fentanyl. But most people are only addicted to fentanyl because it was thrown in their other drugs of choice. Right? Again, someone could be a heroin addict for 25 years. All of a sudden, the heroin that they start getting is cut with fentanyl. Oh no, now they're addicted to fentanyl and they need that exact sort of heroin from that guy who has that exact amount of fentanyl. The other problem is, again, you're addicted to a certain drug for an extended period of time. You know your dosing, you know what gets you high, you know what your required dose is to enjoy yourself. All of a sudden, you get a laced batch that has fentanyl in it, which, again, depending on how it goes, fentanyl is a different drug entirely compared to things like cocaine. Right, so let's say you're a cocaine addict. All of a sudden, you're dosed with fentanyl, and boom, your heart stops. But they don't call it a poisoning, because drug users in this country have no dignity in this country. They call it an overdose. The onus is on the drug user. It's their fault. They overdosed. If you were to go over your grandmother's house for a nice Sunday dinner and it turned out that she dumped a whole gallon of Windex in the soup, would you have overdosed on the soup? Or would you have been poisoned? I don't know. Anyone out there who would say, oh yeah, sorry, I just overdosed on my grandmother's soup, I think that you're a little silly, of course. But again, in our world, all the problems in the world are the drug users' fault. It's all their fault. Politicians, they're clean. Their hands are clean. They did nothing wrong. Making fentanyl the most easily sourced drug, even though it's the most dangerous, and also not having a regulated market for its production. That's all well and good in America. But let's see. How do they spin this one? Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsom announced late Wednesday that the state's highway patrol has seized enough fentanyl in San Francisco in the past 6 weeks to kill the city's entire population nearly 3 times over. Since the governor launched a public safety partnership between the city and state on May 1st, the California Highway Patrol has seized more than 4.2 kilograms of fentanyl in Tenderloin neighborhood and the immediate surrounding area of San Francisco. The U.S. DEA considers a lethal dose of fentanyl to be 2 milligrams, blah, blah, blah. Again, the DEA is the largest criminal syndicate in the country when it comes to drugs. And they also are the most dangerous. Without the DEA, fentanyl would not exist. I'm just telling you that as a matter of fact. Without the Controlled Substances Act, fentanyl would not exist. Okay, now again, the drug would exist, right? It would still be used in a hospital setting, but we wouldn't be seeing hundreds of thousands of people dying of fentanyl in the streets. That's what I'm talking about, okay? And this is one situation where Democrats and Republicans, they agree. Drug users deserve to die. We will accelerate their death. We will not treat them. And we will blame them for their death. That is the bipartisan agenda in the United States of America. Why else would you see Democratic governor, instead of, I don't know, providing a regulated market? Instead of, I don't know, decriminalizing substances? Instead of, I don't know, legalizing substances so that you can buy them from a regulated and, monitored processing facility instead of buying them from a street dealer who laced them with fentanyl, right? It's because, one, they don't care about drug users. They don't. Two, drug users deserve to be killed in the minds of Democrats and Republicans. They want to cull the population of undesirables with the police force. That's why the police force has a 3 times as likely propensity to target black people than white people, because Democrats and Republicans agree. We want less of these groups. That is why police are more likely to target queer people than straight people, and so on and so forth. Because the role of police is to cull the population of undesirables, and drug users fall into that category. So again, I don't really understand this whole thing. I really don't get it, how Democrats in the year of our Lord 2023 are still doing the Richard Nixon strategy on drugs. It's a fail. It's a flop. It doesn't fucking work. And again, it doesn't even treat the root cause, right? Because, okay, they're seizing fentanyl in San Francisco. Okay, how did the fentanyl get there? Right? This is like you have a gaping wound on your thigh, let's say, and the blood is trickling down onto your feet. And so instead of dressing the wound, putting a bandage on the wound on your thigh, what do? Well, you get an alcohol swab and you clean your foot. And then what happens? The blood I don't know why I'm choosing such a morbid metaphor, by the way, but just bear with me. But what happens? It just keeps collecting. Why? Because you're not solving the root problem here. And so again, they're pretending like they're the winners, like they won. Look at us, we did the right thing. When they're not treating the root cause, all they're doing is cleaning up the second order symptoms until tomorrow, when the second order symptoms are back in full force. Good. You seize the fentanyl. So San Francisco's never going to have a fentanyl problem again, right? Oh, wait, you're telling me that it's still a problem? Huh. Interesting. So again, it's bipartisan in this country to purposefully go out of their way to lie about drug users and to draft policy that results in their death. And also to draft policy that results in people turning to drugs. I mean, look at our country. Our country is a depressive fucking hellhole. A lot of people, they can only get up in the morning because of drugs. So our country burns people's souls into oblivion, makes them depressed, makes them lonely, makes them more susceptible to turning to drugs. And then once they turn to drugs, hey, you're a drug addict. You're on your own, kid. Overdose. Lol. Look at the dummy drug addict, doesn't know how to do drugs. They overdosed. Whoopsie. Whoopsie. It's the infantilizing language. But also they claim to care. These Democrats, they claim to care. Oh, the problem is so sad. Oh my God. It's a bunch of horse shit. Does anyone remember Madison Cawthorn? Reminder, he got fucking kicked out of Congress for talking about cocaine orgies. That guy, have you seen him anywhere? Like, Madison Cawthorn was like the premier Nazi Hitler Youth guy for like a solid, 18 months. Then on an interview, he was like, oh yeah, the Republicans, they invited me to some cocaine orgy. It was awesome. And then now no one knows who he is. Like, where is Madison Cawthorn? Is he safe? I got some Polar Seltzer, brought to you by Ginger Lime Mule. Polar. All right. All right, so this one's going to be a long segment. I want to start this segment by saying, I don't even know how to start this segment. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a depressing segment. If you're not capable of handling depression, or something that could be extremely depressing, I suggest not watching. So with that being said, let's jump in. So we got some polling data on how younger people feel about the United States. Young adults are dying from suicide and homicide at the highest rates in decades, CDC report says. As we see on this thumbnail, nearly 3 in 5 teen girls in the U.S. felt persistently sad or hopeless. Now, I would like to say that I speak on behalf of people that are persistently sad or hopeless, because I am persistently sad and hopeless, right? That's pretty much what my show is about at this point, for better or for worse. So let's check this out. In 2021, suicide and homicide rates for children and young adults aged 10 to 24 in the U.S. were the highest they've been in decades. According to a new report from the U.S. CDC, suicide and homicide were the second and third leading causes of death for this age group, both causing 11 deaths for every 100,000 people aged 10 to 24. Now, I just want to say this. It's a wide age range, 10 to 24. Okay? A 24-year-old could kill themselves for a completely different reason than an 11-year-old. Right? If an 11-year-old is killing themselves, look at the parents. I also want to say that for 24-year-olds. If someone is so young and so persistently sad that they're planning suicide, look at the parents. Now, I don't want to sit here and say every single parent who has a suicidal child is to blame, right? I don't want to say that, but I'm going to. If you are a parent and your child is suicidal, that's your job to fix that shit. Now, again, in our society, we've kind of pathologized suicide. We've kind of pathologized depression, to make parents feel better. This is all to make parents feel better. Some people will say, oh, they're just sick. Oh, something's wrong with them. You did everything you could. That's what people tell each other during support groups to cope. Now, am I saying that every single suicide is a result of bad parenting? No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is every single suicide, the parents probably could have been better parents. Because I don't really believe in the idea that a parent can exist in the United States of America without abusing their kid to some degree. It's part of the American DNA. Now, how much you resist that urge to destroy your kid's soul and livelihood, that's up to you, and there's a lot of great parents that do that. But the default in our society, the default is for parents to pass along the traumas to their kids. And in a situation where society is ever collapsing, right, the family unit itself is forever collapsing. And everyone's looking for a scapegoat. Is it capitalism that's causing people to kill themselves in droves? Yeah, sure. Is it family abuse that's causing people to kill themselves in droves? Absolutely, probably. Is it chronic health conditions? No one is able to live their lives healthily anymore. People are chronically ill. It's hard to just get up in the morning sometimes with all the illness and death and sickness circulating in the air. So, yeah, there's all kinds of reasons why, young people, kids, 11-year-olds are counted here. Why would an 11-year-old kill themselves? I'm asking you this question. Okay? Why the fuck would an 11-year-old kill themselves? The only option, the way I see it, is parenting. Like, now we can have an argument why, like, you know, a 22-year-old, they're an adult now, they should whatever, but we can have that debate. But the only reason an 11-year-old would ever think of killing themselves is because of shitty parents. I just want to be 100% about that one. Now, we can debate what the age cutoff would be, where someone has their own sort of thing, where it's like maybe even possible that they were just sick is an excuse that you could use. Usually, right? Usually, when people are just sick or we did all we could, it's because they were abused from a young age and they were not equipped to properly handle the world at large. And then they became an adult. They realized they weren't equipped to do so. They were never taught how to handle the world. And then they kill themselves later than an 11-year-old. I don't know, man. I just want to say this. If you have an 11-year-old that kills themselves, it's your fault. Full stop. I don't give a fuck. Okay? If it's they kill themselves with a gun on accident, your fucking fault. If they walk into traffic, it's your fucking fault. I'm sorry. If an 11-year-old is killing themselves for any reason, it's the parents' fault. That's just my opinion. Now, what you can do with that information, I don't know. This is going to be a long segment, by the way, so just put your seatbelt on. I know I offend certain demographics in my audience here sometimes, but it wouldn't be an above it all show if I didn't offend somebody. All right, let's keep going. Suicide rates surpassed homicide rates for the age group in 2010 and have continued rising in the past decade. A large spike in homicide rates during the first year of the COVID-19 pandemic brought the rates for both types of violent death together for the first time in a decade. For children ages 10 to 14, a large gap remained. The suicide rate in 2021 was twice as high as the homicide rate. We're talking about children, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds killing themselves. I mean, again, I'm telling you this as a matter of fact, okay? There is not a single 13-year-old that is killing themselves for any other reason than the fact that their parents fucking suck. I don't know what to tell you. There is not a single, oh, you got bullied at school? Okay. Well, if you had parents that were willing to be there for you and support you, maybe you wouldn't feel the need to internalize the bullying. Maybe if you had a parental support structure that you could go to in your time of crisis that would actually be willing to help you, maybe you wouldn't have killed yourself. Because again, one of the American ways that we raise our children in this country is we teach parents to neglect their children. We teach parents to discipline their kids from a young age in this country. What happens when you raise a child in this country? What happens is you have a bunch of people tell you, you got to draw boundaries, right? Oh, the kid's crying in the middle of the night, stuff them in another room. I don't know how many parents are watching me. I'm sure I know I have a couple parents out there. And hey, I know it could be an offensive show to hear this, but I don't know, man. Just whenever I see a crying baby being thrown into another room, because I know people. I have people in my family that are parents and they have babies. And the baby starts crying, and what do? They throw him in a fucking other room, and they just keep crying. Like, that's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy. You don't think that fucks a kid up? You don't think we all say this, oh, the kid's brains are like a sponge. You ever hear this in school? Like a sponge. Oh, the kids are absorbing everything around them. You don't think that a 1-year-old being shoved in a closet because they're crying is going to fuck them up? And again, I know, I'm not saying that it's like all the parents' fault. Yeah, society fucking sucks, and we force people to go back to work a week after giving birth. That's not natural. To give birth to a child and then just abandon them in a week? That's not fucking natural. When did that even start? Like 100 years ago? That it became normal to give birth to a child and abandon them in a week? Because that's how a child interprets it, by the way. That's how a child interprets when their family is not there for them, when they're in daycare, or when they have different kinds of babysitters, you know, that rotate in and out and they can never build a connection. That's how the child interprets it, as abandonment. I was abandoned. A kid doesn't know that the parents have to go to work. They're a fucking baby. How the fuck are they going to know that? Right? And so from a young age, we essentially have normalized torturing our offspring in this country. It's a societal norm. Right? It is almost an unavoidable consequence of having a kid is that you torture them. Right? That's just part of being an American. Now, the only possible exceptions are if you're wealthy enough to avoid having both parents have to be at work. Or maybe you're lucky and both parents work from home. But again, this is all psychological, emotional torture of children. And again, I say this as someone who was psychologically and emotionally tortured as a child. I say this as someone whose first suicide attempt was at the ripe old age of 15 years old. I've tried to kill myself several times in my life. Why? Because I had nowhere to go. I had no people in my life that cared about me. My family didn't care about me. I had no friends. The school system didn't care about me. No one gave a fuck about me. I had chronic health conditions. The medical industry didn't do anything to fix it. I thought about killing myself. Now, fortunately for y'all, so that I can pester your ears off every morning, I failed. But again, we need to talk about, and I know it's a difficult conversation, but when you have a child in the U.S., you are signing up. You are signing a document that says, I accept that I am going to bring upon this earth another soul that I am going to participate in destroying. Because again, if you now I just want to be very clear with you, okay? If you actually had a child and you actually wanted that child to have a beautiful and great life, would you really have a kid in the USA? Think about it. Think about it. You want to have a happy, healthy family? In the fucking United States, it's impossible. So, the way I see it, having a kid in the United States, especially now we can debate going back, because again, millennials are the first generation that have been statistically proven to be at a worse position than their parents. So we can have a debate. You had a kid 15 years ago, 20 years ago. That's a different conversation. The signs of the times weren't looking as bleak at that point. Okay? But if you're having a kid now, in 2023, I mean, I'm sorry, man. Like, I really hope that, I don't know, man. I'm just, like, I don't want to say anything too mean, but I hope that kid doesn't actually happen, because the way I see it, it is impossible to raise a child without abusing them in the United States. It's just impossible. It's just a fucking impossible. And again, we have a giant epidemic of 11-year-olds killing themselves. There's a fucking problem here. And you know what the problem is? No one wants to look at parents. That's the fucking problem. Everyone wants to blame the government. Oh, it's the government's fault. The government. Everyone wants to blame society. Oh, it's society's fault. Now, again, it is. These are all contributing factors. But one major piece of the puzzle that you see this nowhere. You're not going to see this on mainstream news. You're not going to see this on independent news. You will see this nowhere. Everyone will always, the parents, they had it rough. The parents, they did the best they could. Have you ever heard that? Maybe you've said it to yourself about your own childhood. My parents did the best they could. You ever think about that? My parents did the best they could. Think about it. What is that? What are you saying to yourself and to others potentially? What is the legal equivalent to my parents did the best they could? It's the insanity defense. That's what you're saying. When you say that your parents did the best that they could, you are saying that your parents fucked you up, but it's okay because they're fucking insane. That is the legal, right? The legal equivalent is the insanity defense. my parents did the best they could. Chances are I'm going to sit here and tell you that most parents did not do the best that they could. Now, we can have a conversation about how difficult it is being a parent. That's not my show. If you want to go watch a show where people have a pity party about, oh, I decided to have a kid and now my life is so hard, go watch another show. That's fine. My show is not that. Okay? And so I want to say this. As someone who tried to kill myself when I was very young, there are a confluence of factors. One of them, I was bullied in school. All right? So now imagine I had two parents that loved me and I could go to them with my problems. Well, boom, I would be good to go. But I didn't. I had two parents that did not live together, and they played psychological warfare about me, right? So I felt uncomfortable to talk to either of them, because if I talked to either of them about my problems, what would they do? They would go call the other one on the phone and start a fucking multi-month-long argument about it, about, oh, you're not doing this enough, and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, they're both being abusive. And why are they doing this? Why is it that they're both on the phone constantly playing the blame game? It's because the natural instinct of parents in the U.S. is that it's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. No, it's your fault. And when you see like a divorced couple or whatever in this kind of, my parents never got married, so they couldn't have gotten divorced. But when you see that kind of stuff play out, what is it? It's not me. It's not, I would never do something evil. It's not me. It's you. It's someone else. It's society. It's, oh, my kid had a chemical imbalance. My kid was sick. Nothing I could have done could have been any help. My kid was just sick. That's what we tell ourselves in society. That's what parents tell themselves anyway. And so again, whether or not you think I'm 100% accurate, whether or not you think I'm dead the fuck on, you have to admit that this is a conversation you're not allowed to have in the US. You're not allowed to have this conversation. You ever see people go out there, look at me, I'm so counterculture. Look at me. You ever see these people that are saying all this fucking cringy shit on the internet about how counterculture they are? Now, I want to tell you something that's counterculture. Talking about the fucking disgusting cult-like mentality of the family unit in the United States of America. Okay? Because that's ultimately what it is. Right? Parents have such immense power that I don't believe should be possible. I don't believe in the family unit. I personally think, now again, we can have this debate. I recognize that this is something that many people may have not even heard before, but I'm willing to debate this, okay? So maybe I can present this in a harsh way and maybe we can reach a middle ground. But I'm willing to say that having a two-person family unit is inherently abusive. That's what I'm willing to say. I'm willing to say that if you only have two parents and those two parents are placed above everyone else on a hierarchy, that they have the ultimate authority over that child, that is an inherently abusive relationship. Inherently, intrinsically, by its very nature, an abusive relationship. Now, again, am I saying that necessarily all parents that have kids are inherently abusive? To some degree, by having a child in society, you consent to sign up for that abuse. But, again, there's certain levels of like what we can and cannot do in our society, what we're able to do. But you ever hear the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child? Because it does. All throughout our development as a species, we were raised by communities. We weren't raised by two parents that had to juggle 3 jobs. And we weren't raised by a nanny who didn't give a fuck about us, who was too busy abandoning their own kids for a couple of extra money so that they could watch your bitch ass. We weren't raised by this fucking disgusting, stressful environment. So I say this, yes, it is society's fault. But when you become a parent, you sign up to participate in the experiment. So, again, we can play the blame game. We can play the cope game. It's not my fault. My kid's sick. It's their fault. It's your fault. It's this person's fault. It's the bully's fault. It's the school system's fault. It's blah, blah, blah. We can play the blame game all we want. But at the end of the day, when you have a kid in the United States of America, you are signing up for the game that results in this that we're talking about. Now again, so what would happen in an alternate world where the parental structure is the most situation where that's the cause of suicide, depression in young people? Well, theoretically, what if we had a society where the family unit is a fail? It's abusive. So the parent goes to the teacher and the teacher actually helps them. Or society actually helps them. Because when you're a kid, think about it. And I've said this before. You don't have an independent, objective view of reality. You do not live in reality when you are a kid. You live in the world that is shaped by the authority figures in your life, which could be role models on TV or whatever. It could be a teacher, but most often it's parents. Sometimes it's older siblings. They shape a child's reality, right? And so it's almost impossible for children to even know that they're being abused in most cases. The natural reaction of being an abused child is disassociation. I don't know if it's disassociation or dissociation. I'm not sure if there's an A in there. I'm not a doctor, so bear with me. And so what happens when a child dissociates is they stop recording the memories. I have a question for people in my audience. Do you remember your childhood? Like, I'm talking about like every year of your life from like the age of 3 onward. Do you have like distinct memories? Every single holidays, every birthday you have? Like, do you have these memories? I don't remember fucking 10 years of my life, going on 15 years of my life. I don't remember any of it. Why? Probably because I dissociated the whole time because I was living in a fucked up situation, right? So, again, parents have the ultimate authority to shape their children's worldview. And when you have that position in life, when you have that authority over a child, that child is less likely to even know how to ask for help. And that's the other thing. So again, let's imagine we even had a society that was willing to offer serious help, which we don't. We live in a society of gaslighting. Oh, we'll help you, they say, but they're just going to send you to a foster home where you're going to get raped and molested in the foster home. And if you're lucky, you know, like the fucking game with the crane, you know, and the stuffed animals in the arcades, right? If you're lucky, some crazy Christians are going to adopt you, and then they're probably going to throw you into an indoctrination camp that you're going to get molested by a clergy anyway. So society really isn't there to help you at all. They don't give a shit about you, right? In a lot of instances, parents don't give a shit about you. So again, if we lived in a society where one of these things was able to be escaped to, it would still be a shitty society. But again, we live in a situation where school systems don't fucking give a shit about you. We live in a society where healthcare systems don't give a fucking shit about you. Society at large doesn't give a fuck about you. Orphanages, foster care, they don't give a fuck about you. And in a lot of instances, your parents don't give a fuck about you. So what the fuck are you gonna do? Your peers don't give a fuck about you. You have no friends. You have no one to turn to. You have no family members. Is it any wonder why kids are killing themselves? Think about it. Now, I want to keep going because, again, this is something I'm very passionate about. And also, no one else will talk about this in this field. I'm sure that many people watching me, I know I've seen a dip in my viewership over the last 5 minutes. That, to me, that's a sign of success. But I'm sure there's a lot of people that I may be the only person that gives this tough on parents perspective. And I just want to be clear. I'm not saying all parents are evil. I'm not saying every parent is inherently abusive just by nature of being a parent. But what I am trying to do is provide to you a perspective that it is impossible for you to see anywhere else. You don't see this on TV. You don't see this in political debates. You don't see this on the radio. You don't hear this anywhere else. You may hear it on some other, you know, small YouTubers, or maybe you might hear it interpersonally. You might hear it in some, but you don't see this on news. You don't see this in large channels. They're not going to do tough on parents. Why? Because most people are parents. They don't want to fucking alienate their audience. Right? So again, I just want to be very clear that this all boils down to, again, my parents did the best they could is the insanity defense. And if your best defense of parents is that they're fucking insane, I don't know, man. That's pretty silly. But let's keep going. Earlier research has found that there's been a steady increase in the number of children who have seen in emergency rooms for suicidal thoughts. Now that's another one. Going to the emergency room. This is what our society does. A kid says that they have plans or thoughts of suicide. What do? We call strangers to come help us. I have a question. Right? If you had a genuine relationship with your child that was built on love, trust, etc., and if your kid came to you in a time of need saying that they had thoughts of suicide, would you feel the need to call strangers to come lock them in a fucking bed against their will? Usually in some instances they handcuff them to the bed. If you had an actual genuine caring relationship, well, chances are if you had a genuine caring relationship with your child, they wouldn't be in that position to begin with. But again, isn't it weird that as a society, oh, our kid seems a little sad, let's call a bunch of strangers to help the situation? Isn't that a little strange? I don't know. To me, that's weird. I see that as weird. I don't know. That's just me, though. That's just me. Another CDC report said that the rate of suspected suicides and suicide attempts by poisoning among the young, young adults, whatever, surged during the COVID-19 pandemic, especially among children aged 10 to 12. A 70% increase in suicide attempts between 10 and 12 years old. I'm telling you, as a matter of fact, there is no other reason other than emotional, psychological, and or physical abuse or neglect that a fucking 10-year-old is going to try to poison themselves to death. A 10-year-old doesn't even really understand what suicide is. A 10-year-old doesn't even understand what life is. Once again, 10-year-olds, they don't live in the real world. They don't live in reality. They live in a world that's shaped by the authority figures in their lives, typically their parents. Oftentimes now you see 10-year-olds having the world shaped by TikTok and YouTube influencers because the parents aren't there. They're at work or they're divorced. So again, the only way that a 10-year-old is even going to think about suicide is shitty parents. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's the... do not pass go, do not collect $200. That's it. That's the end of the line. If you have a 10-year-old who has thoughts of suicide, you have failed as a parent. Your kid's sick, yes, and you're the one who gave them the sickness because you fucked up. Now, there are some parents that would hear that and go, it's not my fault, my kid's sick, oh my God, it's not my fault, I didn't do it. And they live in this fantasy world of their own creation. But there's also some parents that would hear their kids say these things or find their kid doing this, and then that would be the wake-up call. The moment where they realize, holy fuck, I need to get my shit together. Now, I wish that more parents had that. That feeling, that wake-up call, but they don't. Most parents, they might claim it's a wake-up call, and then 3 months later, they're back to their typical antics. Let's keep going here. Teens aged 15 to 19, the homicide rate remained higher than the suicide rate, according to the new report. Now, again, I ask you a question. Why would a teenager be more willing to inflict violence on others than themselves? Why? Well, look at American society. We give teenagers guns. Have fun hunting, Jack. We give 12-year-olds guns and train them to shoot deer. And then they know how to shoot guns. And they have guns. And also, they can use those guns on people that make them mad at school. And why would they feel the need to kill other people or inflict violence on other people? Probably because the parents aren't there to help them. Again, it goes down to neglect, emotional, physical, psychological abuse. What is neglect? Is emotional and psychological abuse. That's what it is. A child fundamentally needs to be in a community, needs to be close to their parents, their family system, the people around them. And if they're not, if they're constantly left alone, if they're constantly left in the care of rotating babysitters, constantly has no parental contact, they're going to feel a little distant. It's just how it goes. That's just the world we live in. And when you have a kid in this world, you sign up for it. You're signing the consent form for this when you have a child in this country. So don't give me this whole, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. You had the kid. Last year, a study reported that firearms were the most common weapon used in children's death, and black boys were killed more than any other group. In 2020, guns surpassed car accidents as the leading cause of death for children and teens. Firearms accounted for nearly 1 in 5 childhood deaths in 2021. So again, whenever you hear people in this world talk about, oh, it's for the children, oh, we do it for the children, no one gives a shit about the children. And now I'm going to sit here and tell you this, and this may sound like I'm too full of myself, whatever, but hey, sometimes people need a shock to their system. But I am willing to bet you that I care more about kids than the average parent in the United States. I'm willing to bet you on that. Now, I say this I don't want to have kids. I'm afraid to have kids. I don't want to have a kid and then fuck my kid up and have to live with the guilt and shame for the rest of my life. Jesus Christ. I don't know why anyone would sign up for that unless they're bored and they have no hobbies and they don't know what else to do with their lives. But I'm just a little humor there. But I'm willing to suggest that most parents only have kids because of narcissism, and they're just not bright. They don't have anything else going for them. Why? Think about it. When you're a child, right, what is the script that you're indoctrinated with in school? What is the script? Right? The script is, what are you going to be when you get older? The script is, oh, you just got to start going on dates. You got to get married. You got to have kids. You got to get a house, white picket fence, all this stuff. That's what they indoctrinate you with in school. Is they teach you the script that you follow so that you don't ever actually live your own life. Just think about where you are in your world right now, where you are and how you got here in your life. Most people, they follow the script that's told to them and taught to them and trained into them when they're extremely young. And I say this. Now, again, you can make your own path and somehow manage to find a way where you, at the end of the day, follow the script in some way, but at least you forged your own path. Most people, when they have children, they're not doing that. They're just following the script that they were taught when they were young. Is you grow up, you get a crush on the cute boys, then you kiss them, then you date them, then you fuck them, then you marry them, then you procreate, and then you die of old age. That's how the script goes. That's what we indoctrinate our kids into doing. And most people, they don't really deviate from that too much. And so when most people arrive at the having kids portion of the script, they didn't train, they didn't practice, they didn't read books they didn't study in what to do when they got there. They just, at some point, woke up and boom, now I'm a parent. And then there's other people that only have kids because of narcissism. I want to pass on my legacy. Some people only have kids because they like the idea of passing on the traumatic things that they had to go through when they were young onto their kids. Repeat the cycle. Oh, my parents beat me, so it's okay that I beat you? Why are you crying? My parents put me in the corner, so I can do that too. You ever see this? You ever see parents, when asked about their abusive tactics, say, well, when I was a kid? You ever see that? You see this a lot when it comes to spanking, which, by the way, Why the fuck? I view this. If you spank a child, you should be put on the sex offender registry. That's some fucked up shit. When you are spanking a child, to me, do not pass go, sex offender. Sex offender. Why the fuck are we spanking kids? And oftentimes the defense is, well, my daddy used to hit me. And why is that? Because these people, they're following the script. They're programmed. They're not thinking humans. Now again, has anyone ever played the video game The Sims? What is The Sims? Well, what you can do in The Sims is you create characters and you give them jobs and you play house. It's essentially playing house with dolls, but in video game form. But one thing that you can do in The Sims is it's called autopilot mode. You can just let them do whatever they want. Let them follow the script. And that's most people in this country. Most people do not actually achieve consciousness in this country. What is consciousness? It's the ability to become self-aware. It's the ability to actually take in the world around you for what it is. It's the ability to have an independent perspective. It's the ability to have an objective, or at least objective compared to the subjective experiences, because we all have subjectivity because we're human. But again, to break from the subjective experiences of reality that were taught to you from a young age. That is what it is to be conscious in this country. And most people are not. Most humans are not. Not even in America, but most human beings are not even at the point where they have achieved true consciousness, the ability to make their own decisions. Most people get indoctrinated with the script when they're of very young ages. And most people that don't follow these scripts are the people that end up killing themselves because they see that there is no light at the end of the tunnel. So anyway, all of this is to say that, yes, society is to blame, our government is to blame, politicians are to blame, but this is something that other people aren't going to say, and this is the elephant in the room, is that parents are to blame. Because it is normal in our world to traumatize your child. It is the default. It is when you get that new car and whatever radio station is the one that the manufacturer is set to, that is traumatizing your child. It's the default. It's the norm. It requires extensive training. It requires extensive practice to not abuse your child in this country. Because again, what do? When we have kids, we're forced to abandon them and go back to work. That's abuse. If you go back to work within, 5 to 10 years after your child is born, you're abusing them. Now again, we can play the blame game and all this and that, but again, at the end of the day, you signed the consent form. You signed the form, I hereby consent to have a mandatory medical experiment be applied to my child against my will, except for this fact that I'm signing this consent form, right? So again, I don't know. But one thing I do know is that as a society, people are afraid to look inward. People are afraid to blame the parents. People are afraid to blame their own parents. People are afraid to blame themselves. People are afraid to take any and all responsibility. And again, I say this as a child that had two parents that didn't live together. Whenever I would confide in either one of them, it was ammo for their fucking warfare on the phone. You're fucking up my kid. No, you're fucking up my kid. No, you're fucking up my kid. And what did I learn? I learned I can't confide in either of them because neither of them give a fuck about me. They only care about themselves, right? And that's most parents in this country. To be honest with you, I've talked to a lot of people. I've seen parents. I know people in my family that are parents, and I'm seeing the cycles of abuse just carry on. I see people that are in my age range. I'm 27 years old. There are people that are 27 that have kids, and I see them abusing their kids in the same way that I was abused as a kid. It's normal to abuse your child in this world. That's just what it is. Now, a lot of people want to say, oh, it's single parents. People want to say, oh, they blame the fathers for leaving. They blame the mothers, whatever. Single parents. I say this again. Two-parent families, I still think, is inherently abusive. Two parents isn't enough to raise a kid, especially not in the modern-day society, right? Again, you may have heard the phrase, it takes a village, but where did that come from? It came from hundreds of thousands of years of human evolution is where that motherfucking shit came from. And now, over the last 50 to 100 years, all of a sudden we've shifted it up, and now we're confused as to why kids are killing themselves? We're confused? But anyway, again, you don't see this perspective very often in media, so there you go. But anyway, tough on parents, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to be tough on parents, so there you go. Anyway, so there's that. I'm just reading the chat here. I'm catching up on some of the stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm just telling you this. I, as someone who was abused to, pretty badly when I was a kid, again, we can play Oppression Olympics, but that makes me afraid to have my own kids, Yeah, like the idea that you can have a kid and you're just acting on autopilot and you think, oh, I know, I was hit as a kid. Let me just hit my kid to get him to shut the fuck up. Because again, yeah, like you hit your kid, they shut the fuck up, you get that short-term release. Oh, God bless, my kid shut the fuck up. But what does that do? That fucks your kid up for the rest of their life. 75 plus years of a shitty life when you hit your kid. That's all it does. And when you do the same, when you yell at your kid in some fucking ridiculous way, all you're doing is you're kicking the fucking, you're temporarily, they're acting out, whatever acting out means. You ever hear this shit, by the way? I should have just put this in the main segment, but whatever. You ever hear this shit? Oh, my kid was acting out. They're misbehaving. Really? And then you ask them how. Oh, they were crying. You ever hear this? I remember when I was young, my cousins, would, like, my uncles and aunts would hit my cousins in front of me. Like, as if, like, oh, yeah, we're all part of the family, whatever. Let's just hit the cousins. And what happened? Why? Well, I remember one time, this is like a memory that I have, because it's like, seeing it happen to another kid versus having it happen to you is a different scenario. But I had a younger cousin that they had fallen, right? They scraped themselves, and they were crying. They were like 5 or 6 years old. They were crying. And then the fucking aunt, their mother, my aunt, slapped them in the fucking face and said, stop crying, get over it. And it's like, what? And then, like, you often hear that as like, oh, they were misbehaving, we're teaching them discipline. What the fuck? Misbehaving? A 5-year-old crying is literally the most normal thing in the world. Like, I'm just like, what the fuck? The idea that a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old crying? Oh, a 10-year-old having a temper tantrum. Yeah, that's called being a fucking 10-year-old. That's like buying a beer and being surprised that there's alcohol in it. That, like, what the fuck? But anyway, so I get carried away on the tough on parents. Because the other thing is, again, that I get pissed off about is no one talks about. Like, this is one, like COVID, some people talk about COVID, but I think even less people talk about, the family unit, parental structures, and how they're that, and just the whole shebang of what I'm talking about here. Like, I don't see that often anywhere in society. Like, I don't see it on TV. I don't see it in movies, I don't see it anywhere. I don't see it on left-wing shows. I don't see it on right-wing shows, of course. Right-wing shows, they're proud to participate in the cycles of abuse. Left-wing shows, they ignore the cycles of abuse, right? I don't see this anywhere. So again, yeah, I don't know. There you go. But yeah, my thing is, the easiest way to avoid being a shitty parent is to not have kids. That's just my opinion. And you know, maybe it's easier said than done, I guess, for some people. I don't know. Now, I will say, and I will cop to the fact I am very lucky in one sense that when I have sex, a kid is not a possibility. So I'm just saying, like, when that's never been a thing that I've had to worry about. So I just want to say, like, silver lining, right? I get it, you know, in some instances, you know, it's easier for my peoples. But I mean, come on, you know, like, again, it's just, I don't know, man. I just think the easiest way to avoid being a shitty parent is to not have kids. I don't know. It's just that's my perspective. Yeah, parents need support, but also I think it needs to be like a fundamental aspect of reality that parents aren't getting support. Like, yeah, we all need support, we all need help, and we're not getting it, right? So it's like, my thing is accept that reality and act accordingly. You know, that's my opinion. Um, you know, the government is not here to help. The government is here to hurt me. The government is here to conspire against me. The government is here to kill me. That's the only purpose of the government. The way I see it, the way I see the world, the government is my enemy. They are the antagonist, right? But so are people. So are regular, you know, you can say that maybe I'm a little fucked up, and I admit that I'm a little fucked up for sure. But I see average people as the antagonists. I see the average person as my enemy. Why? Because they perpetuate the systems that fuck me up. And anyone that perpetuates, enables, and accepts these systems, my opinion, that's my enemy. That's why I don't think there's such a thing as a good Christian. This is all my logic, is when you're a good Christian, what are you doing? You know, maybe I don't want to kill gay people, but Jesus is real and we have to respect him, blah, blah, blah. What does that do? That gives the people that do want to kill gay people more credence in society, gives them more, strength in society, gives them a higher ranking in society, right? So again, when you perpetuate institutions, yeah, I can blame you. That's my opinion. Like, you know, it's the same thing. Like, I said this a little bit ago with when it comes to the pride events. You see all this pride stuff, pride this, pride. You ever see these pride events now? Like, what are pride events other than narcissistic fucking personality complex disorders and corporate sponsorships? What are pride events? You go to a pride event, it's a bunch of people spreading COVID, right? Disabled people aren't welcome at pride, right? I don't feel comfortable at a pride event. Why? Because people at pride events are perpetuating the systems that got us in this fucking position in the first place. Where's the solidarity at pride events? You go to a pride event and there's no solidarity for disabled people. There's no solidarity for people that are immunocompromised. There's no solidarity for just all kinds of people. And this is supposed to be at the event that's about solidarity. So again, I say this, the average person, you know, I think most people are fucking stupid. And you know what? That also applies to the pride community. That applies to the LGBTQ queer community. Most of them fucking stupid, just like everybody else. And that leads to this fucking thing where people, they just do fucking stupid shit. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. So I'm sick of the systems. I'm sick of the world and society. But I'm sick of the people that perpetuate the systems for no fucking reason. Like, pride events turned from riots. That's what they started on. Let's throw fucking bricks through windows. Now it's, let's buy a bunch of corporate-sponsored merchandise and give COVID to a bunch of people and try to kill them. That's all pride is nowadays. Fuck pride. I'm not going to that fucking shit ever again. When pride becomes a riot again, call me. God damn, holy shit, I did not mean to spend an hour on this one. Alright. I've still got some more shit here, so let's keep going. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think I did an entire Tough on Parents segment without really actually mentioning religion, soul life, which to me, like, I'm impressed. Like, you know, that I had enough to say without going to the religion card. And don't worry, I got religion right up on the docket. We're going to jump right in. But yeah, Spit Dragon, I definitely understand the impetus for wanting to go to Pride. You know, again, the first Pride that I would go to as a qualified participant, if you will, for lack of a better term, you know, I was excited about it. But yeah, I mean, I get it as like a personal, but, and again, no offense, but narcissism. Like, and I'm not trying to say that necessarily to be offensive, but it's also like, why do you want to go to Pride? Because you want to feel good. And why do you, like, you know, I'm just saying, like, you know, I don't know, but, take that as you will. Feel free to disagree. But anyway, let's talk about religion. So, once again, I want to reiterate that there is no such thing as a good Christian. It is impossible. Now, before you get super triggered, let me be clear. You can be a good person who, despite being a Christian, is still a righteous and nice and caring individual. That is possible. But you cannot be a good Christian, in the same way that there is no such thing as a good cop. That's right. The church as an institution is directly comparable to policing as an institution. The church as an institution was created as a controlling mechanism to cull the population of undesirables, kill people that did not conform and agree, and indoctrinate everyone else. That is the same thing that police do. What do police do? They are there to kill black people, kill disabled people, kill people that have mental health issues. And what else does that do is it instills the fear of police, and it creates a society where everyone else has to march in line. There is no such thing as a good Christian. I'm sorry, it's a myth. It's made up. I don't give a fuck about your quote-unquote personal relationship with Jesus. That is irrelevant to me. When someone starts talking about their personal relationship with Jesus, I go, why? Because that's some fucking creepy shit. So again, when you say that Jesus is really magical, yeah, don't worry, guys. You know, I get it. I don't hate gay people. Those Christians, they're using faith in a bad way. And I'm here to say that Jesus doesn't hate gay people. Jesus is still magic, and he has a magical hold over our society, and so do the angels that are watching us, and the Holy Spirit and all this stuff. Sometimes it's a spirit, sometimes it's a ghost, who the fuck knows? Right? That's all true. It's just we disagree on whether or not we should kill gay people. Now, I say this as an anarchist, as someone who is fundamentally left-wing. What is left-wing in this country? Equality. I believe in equality. I don't fucking worship anybody. I think being a leftist and being a Christian are mutually exclusive. You're telling me that you want me to believe that you believe in equality, and yet you think that there's some magical sky daddy who exists above all of us, who is better than all of us, and we have to listen to him or have faith in him or whatever the fuck. That is an unnecessary hierarchy I don't fucking believe in. And so again, there is no such thing as a good Christian, because to be a Christian is to perpetuate systems. Again, what is the largest child rape syndicate of all time throughout all of human history? The Catholic Church is the largest child rape syndicate in the history of our species. Oh, but then you get people, oh, that's the Catholic Church. Look at me. I'm not Catholic. I'm Baptist. I'm Protestant. I'm some other made up bull fucking shit to make you feel better as you perpetuate and agree with the same systems that keep people like me, queer people, oppressed for thousands and thousands of years. Queer people had a great time until Christians showed up. Now, again, I'm not, there's a lot of other societies that hated queer people too. But what I am saying is Christians took over the world, and now everyone wants to kill people like me. So I don't know, man. But that is all the preamble for this news story. Exhibit 7,500,419,603,400.6 as to why there's no such thing as a good Christian. Southern Baptists expel U.S. churches with female pastors. Now, again, a lot of people are like, oh, that's just the Southern Baptists. Those guys are crazy. Oh, that's just the Western whatever. Those guys are crazy. Oh, that's just the Catholics. Those guys are crazy. Now, earlier, right, in my show, I was talking about divorced parents playing the blame game. And that's all this is. That's what this is. This is the divorced parents playing the blame game. You're fucking up my kid. No, you're fucking up my kid. No, it's you who fucked up my kid. You're not. That's all this is. Oh, no. Southern Baptists, they're the bad guys. The Western Baptists, the Eastern, the Northern fucking North, Southeastern, South. No, but it's those guys. No, it's not me. I have no responsibility. It's you. It's you. It's you. Well, let's keep going here. By let's keep going, I mean, let's start. The U.S.'s largest Baptist denomination has voted to expel 2 churches for having female pastors. A vote by the Southern Baptist Convention members found Southern Californian megachurch Saddleback and Kentucky's Fern Creek Baptist Church were not in friendly cooperation with SBC, the Baptist Press reported. SBC's mission statement says the office of the pastor should be limited to men. Fern Creek's pastor told CBS News it was a sad day for Southern Baptists. This is, again, you may have heard this phrase, but I didn't know the leopards would eat my face, says the person who voted for the leopards eating faces party. That's what this is. Whoa! I only dedicated my life to enabling institutions of hierarchy and child rape. I didn't know that one of these days they would come for me. The church is a Protestant denomination of Christianity with congregations led by pastors. In total, 5 churches have been expelled from SBC for being led by women. 2 were overwhelmingly voted out at SBC's annual convention in New Orleans after they had tried. This is a cult. I need you to understand Christianity is a cult. And I know, shocking. You've never heard that before. But I mean, okay, so we have this convention where if you're a woman who speaks out of turn, you get culled from the cult. You just get kicked out of the cult. Oh, you're a woman who spoke out of turn. Oh, banned. I don't even know. What? This is a sad day for Southern Baptists because they are losing gifted and talented and called women of God. See, this is no, they're not. They're not losing that. And this is the coping mechanism here. It's imagine you got kicked out of church for being a woman. I covered this story where some gay woman who was talking about how she was gay or whatever got kicked out of church. And they're going to learn the opposite lesson. They're going to double down on Jesus. This should be, oh fuck, the entire organization I've dedicated my life to has just said they don't want me because I'm a woman. Well, I know what to do. I'm going to rededicate my life to them. Are you dumb? Are you a stupid fucking bitch? Because you sound like one. If this is not a lesson learned for you to ditch the cult, then my God, y'all are some dumb shit for brains bitches. I don't know what else to tell you. Messengers voted for, this is a quote, for conformity and uniformity rather than unity. Yeah, it's a fucking religion. What did you expect? Mike Law, a pastor at the Arlington Baptist Church, a real pastor, because he's a man, so he's a real one. Unlike any of these fake, uppity, spoken out of turn women. Bitches, really. Puts us all on the same page about what a pastor is and who is a pastor. A biblically qualified man. I need you to understand there is no such thing as a good Christian. And I know there's a lot of people that want to have their tokens, their excuses. Oh, I know someone who seems like a good person and they believe in Jesus. Yeah, they're a good person despite believing in Jesus. Once again, there's a difference between good person, good Christian, okay? I know a lot of people struggle with adjectives and basic forms of speech, but good is an adjective that describes Christian in this instance. You cannot be a good Christian because to be a Christian is to be to perpetuate systems that are, again, enabling the largest amounts of child rape that this world has ever seen. Also enable, again, the othering of minorities, even in such cases of women in this instance, right? When you pretend that these institutions have any credibility, which they don't, and by pretending that Jesus is a real magical person that you have a personal relationship with, give me a fucking break, by the way, what you're doing is pretending like these people have some sort of touchness, they're touched by God in some way, there's, something about the cult is real, otherwise, it wouldn't be there, right? So, again, to be a Christian is to perpetuate systems of violence, to perpetuate systems of sexism, to perpetuate systems of homophobia, despite your own personal, it's not my fault, bro, it's not my fault, bro, I didn't do it, bro, I didn't do it, bro. It's always everyone else's fault but you. And I say this, by the way, on the same instance when it comes to Muslims, when it comes to other violent fucking religions that are going all across the world. Now, I live in a Christian theocracy. I don't live in a Muslim theocracy. But if I lived in Saudi Arabia, if I lived in Afghanistan, you bet your sweet ass, motherfucking shit for brains bippy that I would be saying the same thing about those shitty fucking religions. Look at what's going on in Israel. Israel's committing Holocaust 2.0. Why? Well, because we're Jewish and God said we could. So let me get this straight. Adolf Hitler kills 6 million Jewish people. And then, less than 100 years later, those Jewish people that got their own country carved out of nowhere, right, are now committing Holocaust 2 on Muslim people. Wow. Now, once again, all that does is say that what goes around comes around, right? Trauma is generational. Now, am I saying all Jewish people are evil? No. Am I saying all Muslims are evil? No. Of course not. But to be somebody that believes in this God, you are perpetuating systems of evil. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. God isn't real, and when you fucking pretend that he is, you're giving the people that are using that God to commit heinous acts of violence undue credibility that they do not deserve. So again, fuck all these religions, but I live in a Christian theocracy, so this is the one I focus on. But again, I know people get triggered. You can be a good person who believes in Jesus or whatever, and that's a blemish on your otherwise being a good person. Because when you believe in Jesus or believe in God or believe in, God's plan, or that God could have a plan, or that God exists, and if God exists, then he might have a plan, what you're doing is giving, again, the cloak of night, if you will, to the child rapists, and to the genocide apologists, and to those committing a Holocaust, to those living and perpetuating apartheid states, to those that are trying to kill queer people, those that are trying to excommunicate women for speaking out of turn, right? You are enabling that by pretending that they have more than 0% credibility. Because what they really have is 0%. They have no credibility. But when you pretend that Jesus is real, there's a Holy Ghost, Muhammad, some guy that I should respect or whatever, can't draw a picture of him because he's that fucking cool. When you do that, you are enabling the worst actors in the space. And come up with whatever coping mechanisms you want. I know for a fact, Christians watching my show, I'm not converting anyone to atheism here. I get it, right? People watch my show, you're going to be a Christian or whatever, and you're going to deal with disagreeing with me because of your personal relationship with Jesus, right? I get it. It's so foundational to your identity because you don't know how to think for yourself. I understand. I get it. But you know what? This is a show for the atheist perspective. And so, not only that, at the anti-theist perspective. I hate religion. I want to see the end of religion. And I think religious people, there's a part of them, no matter how good that they are, there's a part of them that is just fundamentally broken inside until they realize it and they can fix it. And hey, you know, just because something's broken doesn't mean you can't fix it and doesn't mean it can't be beautiful. Look up kintsugi, right? This is an art form where you take a broken vase, you repair it, and what do? You meld it together with like little gold paste or whatever, and then it's like super fucking adorable. You know, look up kintsugi. So again, you can fix yourself anytime, but just because you know, you're broken doesn't mean it's not worth fixing, right? So anyway, with all that in mind, that's the end of my religion segment. I'm reading the chat here, you know, just catching up. I am also somebody, hanging thief, who thinks colleges are mostly a scam. I absolutely think colleges and universities are a scam. I mean, now again, you can get a lot of useful things from a college or a university. I acknowledge that people can grow and have good experiences there. But when you really think about it, the only value that college has is the social experience, right? Because you can learn all that shit on the computer at home. You can watch fucking college professors do their lectures for free on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, you can learn it all for free online, right? So the only value that a college has is the social experience of being close to other people in your age group, and then 2, the hand holding. You're paying for someone to hold your hand, right? That's just my opinion. Do I plan to buy a bicycle? No, I don't know how to ride a bicycle. What about trades? I mean, trades are a different thing. That's hands-on experience. That's a different subject. My brother moved south from north and went to the Baptist church and started spewing evangelical type shit. He didn't even know it was a denomination. Yo, I love how dumb religious people are. They're just like, oh, it's a church. I go to that church. Baptist, Catholic, you know, whatever they are, church, I go in. I love God. I go in. I'll see the cross that Jesus died on. I walk right in. Jesus. Hello. I find atheism to be obnoxious. Oh, fuck. It pigeonholes believers into being more cringe and assuming the dumbest positions possible, and is usually an anti-intellectual way for atheists to understand religion. Well, I don't really see an argument presented there other than, like, I hate this because I hate it, so I don't really know how to argue with that. But, yeah, I consider myself an anti-theist. If you want to say I'm obnoxious about it, that's fine. I personally prefer to be obnoxious about it. I prefer to be obnoxious about all of my beliefs. Why? Because no one else can advocate on your behalf as good as you can, right? So I was the only openly atheist in art college in Iraq in the 1990s and was very progressive to my fellow students, especially when we debate religion. They will say, stop, you will make us atheists. I mean, that's pretty funny. All right. I got some more shit for you, so just hold the fucking phone. Joseph Robinette Biden, who I would love to say is the worst president that we've ever had in my lifetime, but, you know, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, and George W. Bush really give him a run for his money. But Joseph Robinette Biden, despite debatably being the worst president of my lifetime, has done a couple decent things. And one of those decent things is kicking the can down the road on student loan repayments. What is a student loan debt? What is that? That is called slavery. That is another word for slavery. You could maybe be a little bit more politically correct and call it indentured servitude. So again, children in our society are groomed from a young age into following the script of society. What do you want to be when you grow up? They ask you when you're 5 years old, like you fucking have any possible answer to that question. When you're going into high school, 14, 15, they start shoving, what college do you want to go to? Motherfucker, I'm 14. What college do I want to go to? The script that is force-fed to people in society makes them feel pressured to go to colleges and universities where they rack up, you know, hundreds of thousands of student loan debt that they'll eventually be saddled with. There are people I know that are 40 years old and still paying their college loans. That's called slavery, motherfucker. That's called indentured servitude, motherfucker. And the one decent thing Joe Biden has done in his presidency was say, you know what? Let's take a pause on that. Now, just to be clear, the bulk of student loan debt is held by the federal government. The federal government has the authority to default on the loans, to just turn them all to zero. But they don't, because they make money. That's right, the federal government profits on slave ownership in the form of student loan debt. They profit off of you. That's why you can see people that take out $80,000 in a student loan and 30 years later they've paid $200,000 on their student loans and still have $50,000 left. Why? Because interest is a racket. It's a scam. And it's a self-perpetuating feedback loop. You get a little bit in the hole and you're there for life, baby. And the government is profiting off of it. Now again, I say, what was the one decent thing? Well, one of the decent things Joseph Robinette Biden did, it was kicking the can down the road until now. Student loan repayments to restart in October after 3-year COVID pause. And why is this? Why is this? It's because Joseph Robinette Biden is a pussy little bitch. He is a spineless fucking dork who lets Republicans walk all over him, shove him in a locker, shove his face in the toilet bowl and hit the flush because he is a professional loser. Joseph Robinette Biden II is a loser. He's a loser. He's a fucking loser. He is a spineless, little, pussy, motherfucking beta, male, bitch, boy, asshole, loser. 10 words for you to take home at night. The guy's a fucking loser. So, why is he a loser? He had the option of not dealing with the debt ceiling crisis, right, by utilizing the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution that would have sidestepped the crisis and neutralized it without doing any of this. Instead, he chose to sell you out to Republicans. He sold you out for no reason. There were multiple options during the debt ceiling fiasco that no one cares about or pays attention to, because what's debt ceiling? Whoa, what's that? Is my favorite TikToker there? If not, I don't care, because people don't give a shit about anything. So instead of dealing with Republicans and making a deal, he could have just neutralized the whole issue by saying 14th Amendment says our debt shall not be questioned, therefore fuck you. But he didn't, because he's a pussy. And he sold you out. If you have a student loan debt, he sold you out. He sold you down the river for no reason. For no reason. He had no reason to do that. But he did it anyway. Because he's a spineless little fucking twerp. He's a loser. He loses. He's a professional loser. This is what he's been his whole career. He's been a professional loser. For those of you that don't know, there's the story when Joseph Robinette II was the vice president to Barack Obama II. They're both twos, by the way. Did you know Barack Hussein Obama is also a second? He's a junior. Joseph Robinette Biden is also a junior. They're both twos. I don't know. Really weird. But Joseph Robinette Biden went behind the backs of Senate Democratic leadership during the Obama years. Senate Democratic leadership made a deal with Republicans to avert a debt ceiling crisis, very similar to this, to avert a government shutdown. They had a deal that was actually not bad. And then what did Biden do? He went behind their backs, made a deal that was significantly worse. Why? Because he's a professional fucking loser. He's always been a loser. He always will be a loser. He's a professional. It doesn't matter if he can win an election, because being a loser is a state of mind. Being a loser is a way that you live life. It's a philosophy that you bring with you in every aspect of your life. And when you're a professional loser, maybe you can win every once in a while. That doesn't change the fact that you're a fucking loser. So let's go. While the Supreme Court weighs whether or not to allow President Biden to cancel hundreds of millions of dollars in federal student loan debt, the U.S. Department of Education has announced a broad timeline for when all borrowers should expect to restart their payments after a 3-year pause. People with federal student loan debt should expect interest to kick back in on September 1st. And payments to resume in October. So wait a second. The interest payments start accruing before you actually pay for them. So they start the clock on interest ahead of the clock on payments. And you're going to come up with another word besides slavery on this one? I don't think so. I don't think so. The Department of Ed... Now, note, by the way, ABC News is just going to do complete laundering of all of this. Like, oh, this is just a thing that has to be done. The Department of Education is expected to issue more concrete timing, blah, blah, blah. Still, advocates for student debt relief say they're concerned by the lack of information released so far and would like to see more specific dates. How about this? Advocates for student loan relief say this is all preventable and you should have just used the 14th Amendment. Fuck you, Joe Biden. You sold us down the river. How about that? That's what advocates for student loan debt. I say this as someone who didn't go to college. I don't have student loans, okay? I fucking realized that shit was a scam and I said nope, and I got the fuck out of that. I dropped out of high school, got my GED for fun when I was 16 years old, which, by the way, the GED, I mean, so fucking easy. I don't know, like, they claim it's a high school equivalency program, but I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, if you know, if that's a high school equivalency, I don't even know. Our society's in shambles. But I don't have any student loan debt, but you know what? I still want people to not have to deal with it. Why? Because that's some fucked up shit. And I care about fellow people. I want them to have a better life. So what? You fell for the scam. We all fall for certain scams. I've fallen for scams. You've fallen for scams. Why should a scam cause you to be enslaved to the U.S. government for the rest of your life? That's pretty shitty. A scam, by the way, that the government perpetuated. Spreading the word early and often will be particularly important for people who've moved addresses over the last few years, blah, blah, blah. I think there's lots of questions we have that the Department of Education really needs to put out guidelines, blah, blah, blah. The Biden administration previously said the pause on student loan payments would either lift after the Supreme Court, blah, blah, blah. Note, by the way, in this article, are you hearing anything about the fact that Joe Biden didn't have to do this is an unforced error right before the general election. He is going to burn his bridge with the young voters right before the general election? Really? When Joe Biden had his peak with popularity among young voters when he, again, fought to continue kicking the can down the road on the COVID-19 student loan pause. I believe he had like 60% support among young voters. Now, I didn't fall for that. I mean, it was a good move, but that doesn't mean I approve of you, motherfucker. It's going to take a lot more to get my approval, right? But hey, he had 60% support and approval among young voters. That shit's gone. I don't know what it is now. I'd be surprised if it's anywhere higher than 40. But I'd be surprised if when they get their email, because, kids, young people, they're fucking dumb. They don't pay attention to politics. They don't know about this shit because they're fucking stupid. They're too obsessed with TikTok and their fucking smartphones and their stupid ass fucking garbage to fucking give a shit about their own fucking personal finances and what the government is doing to screw them over because they're good little drones. They're the perfect kind of slave, the one who doesn't ask too many fucking questions. But again, once they find out, once they get that message, that pop-up on their cell phone while they're scrolling through TikTok, oh, I got to pay my student loans back. Man, I'd be shocked if this guy gets 20% support and approval among young people. Jesus. And it's all for nothing. It's all for nothing. Critics. Finally, we're getting some truth here, it seems. Critics of Biden's student loan cancellation plan have countered that it is beyond his authority as president and unfair to other borrowers who paid off their own loans. Wait, what? Oh, wait, no, never mind. Now we're getting the right-wing criticism. Oh, my God. Are we going to get a left-wing criticism? No. Okay, so they just snub out all left-wing criticism, but they give us the right-wing criticism. Left-wing critics? Sorry. You're censored. You don't get any spot in the article. Oh, you're a right-winger? Have at it. Again, I don't even know. It's a bunch of shit and fuck. That I do know. Realign, you know I have 0 moderators in my chat. Come on now. All mods are bastards, I agree. Hold on. I got one more segment for you. I almost forgot. Just give me a sec here. All right. So, I want to say something that you don't see a lot of other left-wing commentators say because they're a little bit too cucked to their heroes. But, you know, people have asked me to cover the announcement that Cornel West has switched to the Green Party. And I almost forgot to talk about this because, honestly, I don't really care that much. But I know I'm going to get a lot of views on this one, so I might as well sneak it in at the end of my show. So, here we have an article from Democracy Now! So, Cornel West is switching to the Green Party. Let's read the quote here, because this is not being reported accurately. Now, all respect to my contemporaries and colleagues in left-wing independent media, whatever that is, right? They're not covering this shit. I've seen a couple videos from people that I respect, and they're giving this guy way too much credit that I'm not here to do, okay? I'm here to say that Cornel West has been on a downward trajectory for years. Calling, Candace Owens like a smart person, a thinker, going on shows with neo-Nazis, saying Russell Brand is a progressive gem that he watches religiously every day. Okay? I'm sorry. What did Cornel West do when he announced his run for presidency? He went on the Russell Brand show and the Kim Iversen show. Kim Iversen, of course, who supports genocidal legislation against the transgender people in our country. So, I'm sorry. He dropped Movement for a People's Party without a fucking shred of an apology, by the way. This is not a fucking win. Okay? This is not a fucking win at all. It's funny that the People's Party is triggered. That's funny. That's a win. I love triggering those stupid fucked up freaks. But this isn't a win. The Green Party is a fucking money laundering scheme. The Green Party had more power and prominence in 2016 than it does now. The Green Party shows up every year, every year before the presidential election. 2023, here they are again. 2015, there they are. 2019, the Green Party. They come along, they collect your money, they run some shitty candidate, they absorb your fucking volunteer hours, they take all your cash, the election comes around, they use that cash for their own benefit. Look at Jill Stein, who did this recount effort, raised a lot of money, and did fuck all with it. They steal your fucking money and leave you high and dry. So you know what? Cornel West, he can run for president as a Democrat, because then you would actually have a messaging campaign. If he's going to say, I am running to challenge the duopoly, run as a Democrat, challenge the incumbent president, fight for a Democratic debate, get on a debate stage with Joe Biden and call him out to his face. But he's not, because he's a fucking pussy. And he doesn't care about a messaging campaign. He cares about running for president as a project for his own narcissistic personality complex. I don't give a fuck if Cornel West wrote some nice books in the 1980s. I don't give a shit. He can do great things 40 years ago, 30 years ago. That doesn't mean that he does great things for the rest of his life. Enabling scammers like the Green Party? I'm sorry, man. What the fuck are you doing? Yeah, the People's Party's a scam. So is the Green Party. And anyone who doesn't realize that the Green Party is full of fucking scammers is not paying attention. What did the Green Party do? By the way, I haven't even got to Cornel's announcement, like his words yet. So just bear the fuck with me. What did the Green Party do during the 2020 election? There were two prominent people running for the Green Party nomination. Howard Hawkins and Dario Hunter. I believe his name was Dario Hunter. Howard Hawkins is one of the founders of the Green Party. He's been there for many years. So what they did in the 2020 nomination for the Green Party process was they made it so all the key swing states for the primaries in the Green Party, even though only negative 12 people vote in those anyway, what did they do? They made it so that the only person that showed up on the ballot was Howie Hawkins. Dario Hunter got excised from ballots in states like North Carolina. Wasn't allowed on the Green Party ballot. Why? Because the Green Party is anti-democratic. Howard Hawkins wanted his time in the sun. He wanted to be the Green Party nominee. Why? Because he was part of the scam organization. He put in his years. He put in his hours scamming the country for decades, doing nothing, doing fuck all but raising money for nothing for decades, and he wanted his time in the spotlight. So what did he do? He rigged the primary against Daria Hunter. Now again, I don't know jack shit about either of these people when it comes to their, their policies. I assume most of them are decent. They're running for the Green Party, so I assume their political brand is probably decent. But hey, if you're going to go out there in 2016 and 2020, or 2012 and 2016, like with Jill Stein, and talk about how the duopoly, the corruption, the primaries, they're corrupt, and then the very next primary, they corrupt their own primary? Are you fucking kidding me? It's a scam. These are scammers. Now again, the Democratic Party, also a fucking scam. But you know what the Democratic Party has? A platform. And if you are going to ostensibly run for president so that you can be a messenger to gain a messaging campaign, wouldn't going in the direction that gets you the most voices, the most ears and eyes, wouldn't that be the best way to do it? No, he's not. He's going with the scammers, the grifters, and the pyramid scheme. So you know what? I want to say this to my contemporaries out there that are covering this as if, oh yes, Cornel West did something good. No, he didn't. No, he fucking didn't. And what did he do this announcement on? The Katie Halper show. Katie Halper, by the way, who has said nonstop turfy garbage. Katie Halper, who harps on transgender issues from the right. Katie Halper, who's a Russia apologist. He did this fucking shit on the Katie Halper show. Give me a fucking break. Give me a fucking break, you people. Really? You people have fallen for this Green Party? Oh, Cornel West is with the Green Party. All is forgiven. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? You're that easy? You roll over like a dog without any amount of effort? Come on. Now, Cornel West has switched party affiliation and is now running to be the Green Party's nominee. The author, blah, 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 said West confirmed the news on the Katie Halper show. Cornel West, quote, this is his words, which means when it comes to infrastructure and institution, it's much broader and deeper, access to the ballot much broader. But in the end, as you know, any candidacy to run the empire, in order to dismantle the empire, has to be part of a movement. What? Now again, what? Like, what? That's how to say nothing in one paragraph. So I'm running to end the empire. I hate the empire, so I'm joining up with a bunch of grifters and scammers. Okay. Well, one thing that's not being quoted here, and I could have gotten the video, but to be honest with you, I don't care enough to play his video. Who cares? Is Cornel West said he's running as a unity ticket. Maybe I think he actually tweeted this. Let me actually go to his Twitter page. He said he wants to do like some unity broad coalition bullshit. Here we go. In the spirit of a broad united front and coalition strategy, I am pursuing the nomination of the Green Party for president. Go to blah, blah, blah for more information. To continue to support this unprecedented effort, blah, 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 blah. I thank the volunteers of the People's Party for the initial launch. So again, what is a united front coalition strategy? What? What is that? It's nothing. He doesn't want to apologize. Now, I say this much. If I ran for president and the people that were my campaign launch managers were a bunch of sex pests, scam artists, and I got called out, you know what I would do? I would say, damn, I'm sorry. I fucked up. But that's not what Cornel West does. He can't acknowledge that he made a mistake. Why? I don't know. Because he probably doesn't think he did make a mistake. Now, a lot of people love to infantilize their heroes. You know, it's the insanity defense. I was mentioning this earlier. Oh, he just didn't know that Nick Brana is a serial sex pest. He didn't know. You're telling me Cornel West, who by his own declaration was with the People's Party since its founding, decided to run for president without doing a Google search of the People's Party? One Google search. One. Singular. One. Because if you Google the People's Party, Nick Brana's sex pest behavior pops up. Nick Brana literally canceling and censoring his own party for asking him a question. What happened? Nick Brana was a sex pest. That got outed. The People's Party board was like, let's investigate this. Nick Brana fired them. Why? Because it's not an actual party. It's not an actual board. If Nick Brana can single-handedly fire someone on a board, it's not a board. It's a dictatorship. Okay? And you're telling me Cornel West, him being a public thought leader and intellectual, didn't do a single fucking Google search? Now, if that's the case, and if you want me to believe that he's just so dumb that he would do that he would launch his campaign for president without looking into the people he's launching it with, if you want me to believe he's that fucking stupid, that says a lot about how you believe Cornel West's intelligence is faring. Because I believe Cornel West is an intelligent man. And I believe he knew about all of this, and he did it anyway. And maybe he was surprised at the backlash, but he's responding to the backlash like any other politician would. By saying nothing in the spirit of a broad united front. Oh, when it comes to the ending the empire, we're against the empire. We like good things, we don't like bad things. Bad things bad, good things good. We're gonna ban nukes. You go on his website, by the way, look at his website. You go on his website, you look at his platform, right? And it's a bunch of fucking garbage. Look at this. We're gonna ban nuclear weapons. Like, I'm sorry, man, I read this shit, I think this guy is a child. Oh, you're gonna ban nuclear weapons? Wow. Okay. Okay, in the fantasy scenario where Cornel West becomes president, how the fuck is he gonna ban nukes globally? Okay, you're gonna disband NATO? What happens when you disband NATO? Then NATO 2 pops up. There's gonna be a power vacuum, so then the exact same thing, but with less safeguards, is gonna pop up. So what he is doing is he is running a messaging campaign that hinges on, I support good things, I don't support bad things. This is, and I mean this with all complete respect and sincerity, no different from an establishment Democrat. He doesn't give a fuck about messaging. He doesn't give a fuck about carrying a torch for the progressive movement. If he did, he'd run as a Democrat to reach a wider audience. All he gives a fuck about is having a fun retirement project. Man, I'm old. What am I going to do with my life? Oh, I know. I'll run for president for the lulz. Give me something to do. He doesn't give a fuck. He is, aligning himself with grifters and scammers, for Christ's sake. The People's Party, a scam. The Green Party, a scam. Now, whatever you want to say about the Democratic Party, which I agree with, most likely, at least people pay attention to them. And again, you're going to say this fucking shit. Oh, we're going to ban nukes globally. Like, what kind of child says that? Like, I'm sorry, but like, Jesus fucking Christ. If you are going to announce your run for presidency under a pyramid scheme hosted by a fucking tyrannical sex pest, and then have the audacity to switch parties without so much as an apology, that's called a typical politician. That's called someone who is not treating us with respect. Cornel West knows all of this shit. He knew about it before he launched his run for president. Don't fucking infantilize him. He is a grown man. He's written books upon books upon books. He's been a quote-unquote public intellectual for decades. So unless your argument is that he's going the way of Dianne Feinstein, which I don't agree with. I think he's all there. I just think his mind is being warped by fascists. He is doing friendly shows with the Proud Boys and Candace Owens, Daily Wire. He's going on their shows. He's going on Russell Brand, Kim Iverson, and Katie Halper's shows. This guy's lost his shit. Do I think he's demented? No. Do I think he's senile? No. But I think he's lost the step. He is not the progressive leader and the public intellectual that people may associate with his books in the early aughts, 90s, and 80s, whatever, right? All he's doing now is propping up scam artists and not acknowledging any of his own problems. Like, literally, a fucking apology is too much for this guy. An apology. Yeah, I fucked up. He doesn't give a fuck. I need you to understand that. And I'm sorry. I don't give a shit if he switched to the Green Party. He doesn't give a fuck. And anyone who's pretending like this is good news, I'm sorry, man. You lost the plot. You fell for the scam. This isn't good news, okay? Now, again, as funny as it is, and I got the tweets right here. I got this. This is a Facebook post on the People's Party page. Breaking, Cornel West has announced a switch to the Green Party, folding to social media and family pressure. What? Folding to family pressure? Why the fuck are they bringing up his family? Why? Because the People's Party are a bunch of fucking petty, high school lunch table ass motherfuckers. Cornel West folded to family pressure? Why would you say that? Why would you say that? Now, again, this is funny. The only silver lining of any of this is that, boom, we have more reason to make fun of the People's Party. But this idea that the Green Party is legitimate, I'm sorry. Go fuck yourself. The Green Party's a scam. Cornel West is a scammer. He's scamming you, okay? Cornel West is going the way of all kinds of public intellectuals that maybe they had a heyday, but as they get older, they turn into conservative freaks. Here's another example. Christopher Hitchens. I've seen some people make some comparisons. Someone who had some really good things to say, some really smart things to say, and then as they hit that old age, they just start saying some crazy fucking crazy ass shit, and that's what Cornel West is doing. I don't know what to tell you. If you're falling for this shit, man, you're dumber than rocks. Really? You're falling for the Green Party in 2020? Or 2023? I mean, Jesus, I forgot what year it was. You're falling for the Green Party in 2023. The Green Party. Don't worry, guys. We're going to build a movement. 2000. Don't worry, guys. We're going to build a movement. 2004. Don't worry, guys. We're going to build a movement. 2008. Don't worry, guys. We're going to build a movement. 2012. Don't worry, guys. We're going to build a movement. 2016. Hey, guys, recount. Give me all your money. Jill Stein. I'm Jill Stein. Give me all your money. Give me all your money. Recount, recount. And then where did that money go? Don't ask questions. Then 2020 comes along. Oh, the corrupt Democrats rigging the primaries. And then what did Howie Hawkins do? Rigged his own primary. Why? So that he could come along and say, don't worry, guys, we're going to build a movement. Anyone giving the Green Party anything other than 0% credit, I'm sorry, you got fucking scammed. You fell for the fucking scam. I'm sorry, man. The Green Party was more powerful. They had more sway 20 years ago than they do now. They had more sway 5 years ago than they do now. And sure, the People's Party is even cringier, but that doesn't change the fact that the Green Party is a fucking shithole institution. And your protest votes? Really? Oh, wow, I'm protesting the duopoly by voting for 9/11 truthers. That's who they ran. I think it was 2008 that the Green Party ran 9/11 truthers. They vote for fucking Putin appeasers and apologists like Jill Stein. Hell, I voted for Jill Stein once. And then you know what I did? I noticed, oh, the day after the election, she was gone. Radio silence. And then like a couple months later, she raised a shitload of money for this dumbass fake recount bullshit. And then what happened? Radio silence. Where did the money go? So then I realized, oh fuck, I got scammed. And I'm not voting for them again. But apparently a lot of people in left-wing media, they're still giving these people credit. The Green Party, the People's Party, it's all one big fucking scam. And I'm sorry, you can like Cornel West. You can read his books when you're in high school. That doesn't change the fact that he's scamming you. He is purposefully going out of his way to talk to... By the way, you ever notice that since he has announced his run for president, he's been going on a lot of white right-winger shows. Just something to notice. Anyway, the People's Party is triggered. The 6-year relationship that PP had with West led to the invitation to run as our candidate. West had to consider the other political influences of his family after he agreed Why are they bringing, yeah, hey, Cornel West, your wife, she's manipulating you, bro. We're gonna win this war. These people are insane. But you know what? So is the Green Party. And so is Cornel West. I'm sorry. Fuck you. Fuck your heroes. Fuck this infantilizing shit. This 70-year-old grown man who's written dozens of books should be treated like with kid gloves like he's a fucking toddler. Give me a fucking break. Give me a fucking break. He didn't do any sort of an apology. And in his fucking shit, he said, we are going to, you know, announce a united front broad coalition that includes the People's Party. That's what he said. And he thanks the People's Party volunteers. What volunteers, bro? All the volunteers of the People's Party left years ago. The only people left at the People's Party are grifters and scammers. That's it. There are no volunteers. Anybody that actually gave a fuck about a third-party movement, they left years ago. So who are you thanking, Cornel West? So anyway, there you go. Fuck Cornel West. Fuck his shit. Someone asked me, would I support Cornel West if he ran for as a Democrat? No, I wouldn't after all of this shit. I'm sorry. I would still vote for Marianne. Even though Marianne's cringe as fuck, she at least made a better decision at the jump. I'm sorry, man. She's cringe as hell. So is Cornel. I don't know what to tell you, but he should jump into the Democratic race. He should pressure Biden to do a debate. He should go on the debate stage and gang up on Joe Biden and RFK for that matter. But I'm sorry, man. I saw a couple of my contemporaries out there, and maybe I'm being a little presumptuous by comparing myself to other people that are much more popular than me, but I see a lot of people out there saying, good news, everybody, he switched. I'm waiting for the good news. Where's the good news? The only thing I'm seeing is Cornel West destroying his legacy for no reason. For Katie Halper, for Candace Owens, for Kim Iverson, for Nick Brana. He's destroying his whole legacy for these fucking grifters and scam artists and racists and sex pests. He's destroying his legacy for these people? For anti-vaxxers? Really? But hey, maybe Cornel West is just too dumb, right? Because that's what some people think. Cornel West is just too dumb. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know how to use Google. He doesn't know. He's been the part of the People's Party since its founding, and he knows nothing about it. That's what some people want you to think. That he's just a fucking innocent little dumb fuck. A stupid little moron. That's what some people they want you to think. I don't believe it. I believe he's a smart, intelligent, and altogether man who's making a series of shitty decisions. That's what I'm saying. So fuck Cornel West, fuck the people enabling and apologizing for him, and fuck the People's Party, fuck the Green Party, and fuck all third-party scams. Because it's all a bunch of scam artists and grifters. So there you go. I know that's going to trigger a large amount of people. So enjoy. Alright, now that I've got that out of the way, the show's over. I'm not talking about Marianne Williamson. I'm talking about RFK. I'm talking about Russell Brand. Who, by the way, Marianne Williamson went on Russell Brand's show, too. Which is like, I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. I don't know much about Russell Brand. But what I do know is he does a lot of, like, vaccine conspiracy content. And that's, like, his beat over the last couple of years. That's, like, one of the very few things I do know about him. Yeah, I agree with Spit Dragon. I don't want to be here, but guess what? Biden 2024. Now again, I will vote for Marianne in the primary. I will protest vote in the primary where protest votes actually mean more than 0%. But I mean, if you're asking me, Joe Biden versus Donald Trump versus Cornel West versus whoever the fuck they throw in the Libertarian Party, I'm not voting for Cornel West. You got to be a dumbass to vote for Cornel West. And then what's the, like, you ever see the, oh, if we hit 5%, guys, 5%, then we can get the federal funding. You ever see this? Federal funding 5%. We're gonna get it next time, guys. Give us your money. Give us your money. They're never gonna get 5%, and even if they did, it's the Green Party, a party full of scammers, grifters, and tyrants. So, okay, they got federal funding. Then they're still gonna do fucking fuck all, because they're shit. They're garbage. They're fucking trash can people. Fuck the Green Party, dude. I'm so sick of these motherfuckers. Anyway, I don't know. That's my show. Very unpopular show today. I've got record low view counts on my show today with my tough on parents, tough on religious people, and tough on your heroes. Yeah, that's right. I'm here to fuck up your day. That's this show. I'm not here to give you the easy to swallow pills. I am here to fuck up your day. I want you to think about my show for the rest of the day. I want you to think about my show for the week. I'm here to fuck up your day, motherfucker. So yeah, that's right. Record low viewership. I'm just kidding. I don't really give a shit. I assume people are fleeing my show for the other show that starts at 12 o'clock. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I gotta start uploading these fucking videos. I gotta eat breakfast, motherfucker. I will see y'all later. And I'm just gonna press. Yeah, let me switch sound fonts here. Let me switch sound. Use this one. I gotta get some new ones. I've gone through most of them.